Hey, it's Paul Jackman here from Jackman Carpentry. Come join me for a shop tour. Hey guys, I've gotten a few questions about my shop lately, so I figured I'd give you a little tour and show you what's going on down there and how I have things situated. I'm working down in the basement of my apartment right now. Luckily I got a little yard here. I can cut down large panels because the shop is quite small, as you'll see. You can see my utility trailer here. I got a video of that up already. It's worked great. We'll see what this snow does to it. So let's come on downstairs and take a look. Alright, welcome to my shop. I'm now down in the basement here. First thing you'll probably notice is the size. It's about 11 feet wide, 21 feet long. The height here, actually, I'm 6'3". The bottom of these floor joists is a little bit less than that, so it's a little tricky down here. You gotta be careful not to knock your head, but you can make things work pretty easy. It's about the size of a one-car garage, except I got this beautiful chimney running down the middle of it too, so that makes it a little tricky. But I know there's a lot of people in a situation with a small shop, so I just wanted to share my ideas here, hopefully give you some ways to organize your small shop efficiently and be a little creative in the way that you store things and use tools in more than one way. Basically set up in two sections here, one behind my table saw, one in front of my table saw. I'll give you a quick pan around each of those areas so you can kind of see where everything is, and then I'll walk you around and explain some things to you. Alright, let's start over here. This is my 12-inch sliding miter saw. I particularly like this size because it is very tricky to cut large pieces on my table saw, and I can't really utilize a cross-cut sled with that chimney running down the middle, so this works great instead of that. I have my dust hood in the back, collect all the dust. Over on that side, that's my shop radio, most important tool in the shop, hands down. Got my finished cabinet here, a few measuring tools on the outside. I have all my stains and paints and things situated in here, some rags and some used sandpaper. You notice up here too I've got some clamp storage just attached to the floor joist. Works alright, and they're out of the way. Down below here I have two large drawers. The top drawer I have my most used hand power tools, sanders, drills, nail guns, things like that. And similarly in the bottom it's a bunch of hand tools, some jigs, some saw blades, hardware that I don't use that often, but these giant drawers are great for storing a lot of stuff in just this small area. Got my air compressor down here and a little bit of scrap wood storage above that. Here in this corner I've got my wood lathe, got the chisels in the back, and then the storage area here for a lot of my more used hardware, screws and nails and things like that. I'm actually all in a bunch of peanut butter jars. I've been saving these for a long time, figuring they'd be good for storing hardware, and it's great. They're all the same size, you can see what's in all of them, and it's a great place to kind of hide stuff up in this corner away from where I'm usually walking around. My lathe is one of those tools that I use for more than one thing. This is actually also my disc sander. I'll give you a little demo of how that goes together right now. Alright, so there you go. Got a 12-inch sanding disc in there, and it actually works out pretty great. Got a little dust port in here, collects basically all the dust. Just plug in my shop vac right into that. Down below here I have a couple of toolboxes on a slide-out shelf, and I store all of my small hand tools and things like that in here, screwdrivers, wrenches, and those types of things. It's great to keep these modular because I do a lot of work outside the shop, so I can just grab these and take them with me and then bring them right back and keep everything in the same spot. Below that is probably one of my favorite storage drawers. It's about 4 or 5 feet deep. It keeps all of my large pipe clamps and other clamps inside here as well. Great place to keep them down out of the way. Going around the corner here, we got my big Jackman trash can. My lunchbox planer, which is actually a replacement for that DeWalt planer there that's actually malfunctioning right now. the riser mechanism doesn't work anymore, so I gotta get that fixed. So I got this from a buddy when he was moving. This stand here holds my oscillating belt and spindle sander and the planer down below. It's actually a flipping tool stand, so the top of this spins right around and you can change real quick what tool you're working on. And it takes up very, very little real estate for this shop, so it works awesome. And then I got this little drawer down below, holds sandpaper and pieces for the tools that are on top of the shelf. I use these leaf bags over here to store my sawdust. It actually works great because in the spring we'll mix it up with compost and it'll act just like mulch. These boxes up here is some scrap wood, and that'll come with us when we go camping and make some nice campfires. And then right here I've got my big shop vac. It's a beautiful chimney back here. Been able to rig in a little bit of extension cord storage, level storage, and little nooks and crannies to stick things in around it. It's my workbench here. I just put a piece of cardboard on top when I'm finishing things to keep it clean, and other than that it's good enough. A large enough area to assemble most things, otherwise the big things get assembled on the floor. My little 6-inch joiner is good enough. Can't fit much else in the shop, but it flattens boards out when I need to. Here we are on the other side of the shop. Got my table saw, just a small job site table saw. You can't fit a cabinet saw down here, obviously. It's not a big enough arbor to put a dado stack in there, which is one tricky thing, but you just have to utilize your router and some fences and do it that way instead. Back here, I've got a cabinet that I'm storing my routers. All my router bits and everything go in there. Next to that, I have my small drill press. Can't really fit anything bigger than this in here, but this does the job enough for most jobs that I need to do anyway. Drill bits, Forstner bits, some more drill bits. Next to that I've got my bandsaw. I actually really like this thing. You can see I kind of maxed out on the height. Got lucky that I could squeeze this down here, but I'm really glad that I got this good purchase and I use it a lot. You can see the shop's getting a little shorter on this end, but next to the bandsaw here, it's a little black toolbox that was here when I moved in. And just a little secret box. Moving on, majority of my lumber storage is over here on this lumber rack. Got a lot of pieces of pine that I reclaimed from a church renovation, so that's the majority of the lumber rack. Got some hardwoods on this shelf and some things kind of scattered around where I can fit them. Some things up in the floor joists. You gotta fit stuff where you can, so I got a little bit of hardware, some more lumber storage, and some finished storage down here below the bench. Over behind the lumber rack I actually have enough room for a little bit of sheet storage. I can actually fit full-size sheets of plywood back here. It's a little tricky cutting them down, have to do it by hand with a skill saw, but I just lay out a couple of sawhorses. These plastic sawhorses over here are great. They pack away, very lightweight for moving around, and I can cut the sheet goods down that way. Circling back around here, I have this little cubby by my table saw. I have some feather boards, some push sticks, small things, tape measures, things like that that I always need when I'm at the table saw. It's good to have right at hand while you're working here. Over here in the wing of my table saw is a rig that I actually am really happy with. I was able to fit a router table over in the extension side of the job site saw, and it actually works really well. I fit a full-size router down on the router table, and you just got to take the top off to switch the router bits, which is relatively easy, and you can still work right over it with the table saw if you leave the bits drop down below the table. Just like that. Over here next to the secret black box is actually a tree that's holding up the whole house. My dust collector, I was able to squeeze in behind that, and I actually have a hose that's running behind that workbench over to my table saw, keeping the dust down over there. And then I have this vacuum attachment, which works awesome to keep the shop clean, cleaning up all the floors, and actually reaches all the way to that other wall by the bulkhead. Alright, I think that's about it. Thanks for sticking around. I really hope you enjoyed the tour, and hopefully I helped you come up with some ideas about how to organize your shop, especially a small shop like this one. I know there's a lot of people in similar situations with not much room to work with, and you just have to be a little crafty to fit everything in there, and you can build stuff, no problem. If you have any questions about anything I showed you, feel free to ask them below. I'm more than happy to answer. Be sure to subscribe and follow along. I post build videos here about once a week. Also, something to look forward to. This spring I plan on buying my first house, and I'll be upgrading from this small shop within the next few months into a larger space, hopefully twice as big. I'll be posting updates here regularly, so stay tuned for that. Alright, thanks for watching.